And he's quite literally the only person who submitted a photo of himself at 40% body fat or higher. Almost everyone submitting photos are very lean. And so what I want to tell you is it's okay no matter what you look like to submit your photos. Coach Greg, today's video, I'm going to go over some photos, questions from subscribers, and it's going to be like people doing poses, saying what body fat percentage they have, and me saying if I think that they're way off base, how they looked, answer your questions. So if you want to know more about what normal people look like in the real world, what body fat percentages, watch this video and find out. Up first, we got this girl, her name's Bree, and she has an amazing physique. She's only been training for a year and a half. She says she's at 26% body fat. I think she's close. I think she's closer to 27, maybe 28% body fat, but certainly in striking range of being very, very lean. Her goal in a year from now is to get 22% body fat and to increase her squat, bench, and deadlift by perhaps 20 kilograms. I think that these are absolutely realistic goals, and I think she will have no trouble doing this. If she continues to progressive overload, train harder than last time, watch Coach Greg videos, she can do it. And her question, and it's a very difficult one to answer, is how much body fat should she have if her goal is to continue to gain muscle and strength? And so here's the problem. That number is different for everyone. I wish I could say that I've read every single research paper and 22.6%, that is how much you need. And if you go below that, you lose muscle and strength. And if you go above that, you're hunky-dory. It doesn't work like that. Every person's ideal body fat percentage is different. For some women, they could have no trouble gaining muscle at 18% body fat. For others, it might be 28% body fat. And so for everyone, it's different. But in general, for most people, that's the average person, 25% body fat is probably going to be ideal. If you have really good genetics and you're on the leaner side, you can gain muscle at a much lower percent, perhaps 18% body fat. But for some people at 25% body fat, it's just not enough. They were not dealt the best cards genetically. They tend to carry more body fat percentage and they have a slower metabolism. For these people, it could be as high as 30% body fat. And so depending on your genetics, you have to adjust that percentage according to you. And so here's what you do. You're currently at 27% body fat. Every couple weeks, you perhaps drop 1% body fat. After a while, you're going to come to a point where you feel like you have less energy. If you go to the gym and you don't feel as good, you don't have as much energy, and you don't get the same pumps, and you're not getting stronger, then you have to stop dieting and eat more. You then eat at maintenance and you main gain. And so whatever that percentage is, that is where you should maintain. You will notice this. Remember, lose the weight slower than last time. The slower you lose weight, the easier it is to put on muscle and strength. If you try to lose 1% body fat per week by going in a massive calorie deficit, you're probably going to lose energy even at 26% body fat. But if you slowly, over the course of several months, slowly lose body fat, you will be able to put on muscle and feel strong and not struggle with your diet. Up next, we have Leon. He's only 25 years of age, and I'm looking at this physique and I'm thinking, I didn't think this guy was natural, but he's saying he's natural. Is he in fact natural? Is he not? I can't tell. Based on the photo, I don't see any outward signs of being not natural, aside from the fact that the guy's jacked. And so he's been training for 7 years. He says he's at 12% body fat. I do believe this is closer to 10% body fat. He has a lot of detail. The chest, abs, quads, back, hamstrings, calves, the guy's detail everywhere. And so to me, this looks like a guy closer to 10% body fat. His goal is to get down to 6% body fat next year and win a classic physique bodybuilding competition. He wants strided glutes. I do believe he can do this. However, he may in fact need to get even leaner to see strided glutes. Depending on the person, some people have more body fat or less in the glutes, probably closer to 5% body fat or less to see those crazy strided glutes. Very difficult as a natural bodybuilder. My suggestion, don't worry about it. Get as lean as you can while feeling good, while having energy, and don't over diet. If you continue to diet down, you get down to 6%, you don't have strided glutes, you diet to 5, then down to 4.5%, you might in fact lose a ton of muscle. He wants to compete at about 66 kilograms. If you over diet, he might end up at 60 kilograms, maybe even less. And if you do in fact have lower levels of testosterone from over dieting, you can of course pick up G tests or 3 tests. You can click the link in the description, code Greg, give you 10% off. This can make a dramatic difference, increase testosterone by 2 to 400 nanograms per deciliter. And so his question is, as a natural lifter, can I build muscle effectively in the off season while keeping low body fat levels? And so the answer is maybe. It depends what you consider low body fat percentage. As it stands right now at 10% body fat, clearly looks like you've had no trouble putting on muscle. But if you diet down to 6% body fat and then think you can main gain at 6% and put on muscle in the off season, I don't believe it. I don't think you'll be able to do it. And what have I stated before? For most people, natural athletes, 15% body fat. Those with great genetics, probably closer to 10% body fat. And so seeing as you're at 10, I think you have a good chance of continuing to build muscle at 10%. But not everyone could do that. Many people, if they were to diet to get as lean as you, they would feel like garbage. They'd have no energy. And so depending on your genetics, your metabolism, how much body fat your body wants you to have, that is ultimately going to decide whether or not you can put on muscle when you're lean in your off season prepping for a bodybuilding competition. Up next, we have a 40-year-old Jessica who works out at home. She first started by doing a year of cardio, then added in a year of weights. And so not much experience in the gym. She self-assessed herself at 23% body fat, and I think she's bang on. She states herself that her upper body is a lot leaner than her lower body, and she wants to know, how can you adjust this? Is there anything you can do to make up for that? And so she answered her own question. You cannot spot reduce. You can't arbitrarily say, I want to lose fat in my hips. I want to lose fat in my quads. Doesn't work like that. And for the most part, this is very, very common. A lot of girls will have a full-on six-pack. They'll have abs, even veins in their abs, but yet they'll still have cellulite, fat in their hips and thighs. This is normal. There's nothing you can do to change this. Unfortunately, it all comes down to your genetics. You can't decide where your body fat comes or where it goes. In the same way you can't decide how big your boobs are, or a man can't decide how big his private area is, you have no say in that. It's your genetics. And so just because you're 6'6" doesn't mean your schlong is going to be 6'6" either. It doesn't work like that. You can't adjust where your body fat is. It's going to go from where it goes. But what you can do is adjust your muscle. You can in fact build wider shoulders, bigger arms, and give you the illusion of having an hourglass physique. The more you develop your shoulders, the smaller your waist is going to look. And so if you have a wide waist, big belly, if you develop wider shoulders, your waist is naturally going to look smaller. And so I'm sorry to say, unless you continue to drop body fat, your legs are not going to get leaner. You might get down to 18% body fat, which is in fact your goal, of which I think you can do. And so please try to be happy with your physique. Don't compare yourself to other people. There's nothing you can do. You can't simply snap your fingers and say, I want to have no fat on my abs and I'll have my fat be in my ass. Up next is Alex, who's 20 years of age. He self-assessed himself at 40% body fat, and he's quite literally the only person who submitted a photo of himself at 40% body fat or higher. Almost everyone submitting photos are very lean. And so what I want to tell you is it's okay, no matter what you look like, to submit your photos. There should be way more people submitting their photos who are at 40% body fat or higher. Remember, 69% of Americans are in fact overweight and or obese. And so I would suspect way more people have much more body fat than this. Or possibly everyone submitting these photos or watching Coach Reg videos and say they know how to eat, they know how to exercise. And so great job, people. But remember, if you have 50, 60, 70% body fat and you want me to assess your body fat, please send your photos to me. And so he weighs in 140 kilograms. That's 308 pounds. He says he's 40% body fat. This is a lot closer to 50% body fat. I know it's harsh and I know people don't like to hear that, but about half of his body is in fact body fat. And so if you cut off all the fat on his body, it would be a lot closer to 70 kilograms. That would give him a fat-free mass of 154 pounds or 70 kilograms. His goal in 1 year is to get down to 20% body fat. I do have to say that is a very lofty goal, very difficult, and I don't suggest you try to do that quickly. To go from 50% body fat to 20%, that's losing 30% body fat in a year. And although he can do it, I don't want him to get discouraged. You don't have to lose that much weight in order to make a significant difference in your health. I'd rather see him lose the weight slowly and keep it off for the rest of his life than what happens oftentimes, which is that 95% of diets fail. And so imagine this, your goal is to get down to 20% body fat. He has a 1 in 20 chance of succeeding and getting this goal and keeping that weight off. And so would it not be better to get halfway there rather than trying to go from 50% to 20%, go from 50% to 35%. You don't have to lose 50 kilograms or over 100 pounds in the first year. Try to lose 50 and see what happens. Lose the weight slowly, take your time, and once you've lost that weight and achieve your goal, reflect it yet again and say, can I continue? Do I feel good? Do I have energy? Because if you don't keep dieting. Just because you haven't lost all the weight doesn't mean you haven't made a successful weight loss journey. Up next, 36-year-old Chubby Bun. The guy's been training nearly his entire life. 15 years. And so I certainly think at age 36, he's achieved his natural genetic potential. I don't think he can continue to improve. But just because you can't continue to improve doesn't mean you give up. Just because you're at your genetic limit doesn't mean you stop working out. You continue to train, you continue to do your best you can in order to keep the muscle that you have. Even though he's 36 years of age, I do believe he could continue to train harder than last time and in his early 40s look just as good as he is right now. And so let's just look at this physique. I know what you're thinking. It's a great physique, right? I mean, obviously, do I even have to comment? Do I even have to say this is an amazing physique? Of course it is. And so what body fat percentage do you think he's going to say he is? Use your logic. What have I said about people? The better physique they have, the fatter they think they are. And so he said 20%. Imagine if this is 20%. If this is 20% and I said 15, that means this guy's 5% overweight. Does this guy look like he's 5% overweight? Does he look like he has 5% to lose? And so no wonder people think I'm calling them fat. If people think this is 20% body fat and I keep telling people to maintain 15%, people are thinking, holy goodness, 15% is impossible. 15%, you'd have to have the craziest shredded six-pack in the world. The reality is this guy's between 10, 12% at the absolute most. He has amazing quads, great abdominals. The guy looks like a men's physique competitor. Looks like he could go on a diet 6 weeks, step on stage, possibly win a bodybuilding competition. And so the question is, he has scoliosis. That's the curvature of the spine this way. Scoliosis is when it's bent this way. And so instead of your spine being like this, it's bent out to the side. And so his rehab specialist, remember, these are trained university, experienced, knowledgeable people. They told him he should not do the big three lifts, the squat, bench, and the deadlifts. And so in general, what I tell people is to listen to the medical experts. If you have a doctor, a therapist, a trainer who you've hired, you've paid money to, and they tell you what to do, then you should really listen to them. Why are you hiring them if you're not going to listen to them? If you hire a dietitian and nutritionist and they tell you to eat certain things, or if you go to the doctor, he says you should take certain medications, then you should probably listen to them. However, I do believe that the bench press, because you're laying on your back and pressing upward, is not going to put any kind of pressure on the spine. Think of it. You're pressing this way. The force is going downwards. It's not putting any pressure on your spine. If your spine is like this and the weight is on your back, it can compress. So I do believe the bench press should be relatively safe. But there are perhaps some other difficulties that the trainer, the specialist, noticed that I'm not aware of. But remember this, if you train with very light weights and use perfect technique, perfect form, and you don't ego lift, oftentimes these problems that you get in the gym, they won't be there. And so perhaps he can just lighten the weight, use very slow lifting technique, and focus on the mind-muscle connection. If he perhaps squats down for 5 seconds and raises it up for 5 seconds, does it very slow, would that be as dangerous as he's going for a 1 rep max? I don't think so. And so my advice, talk to your rehab therapist and make these suggestions. Say, do you think it would be still dangerous if I did a set with a very light weight and focused on TUT, the time under tension, perhaps did a set for 60 to 90 seconds and went slower than last time on the descent? And if that's not okay, is there a different form of a squat? Could he do a goblet squat? Could he do a Bulgarian squat? Are there other forms of the squat that can give you additional benefits than simply saying, I can't do squats of any kind? So please do your research, talk to your rehab therapist, and find out the best plan for you. And also don't forget, we got GO2 Max, we got ActiBuilder, we've got G-Test, 3-Test, the Seco protein bars. We've got all kinds of books like cookbooks, training books, also have coaching plans, also free diet and training programs. It's close to 50 pages in length. And so even if you have no money, click that link and head over to the website. You want to get your free diet and training program. Now it's time to do me a favor. Subscribe. Subscribe to the channel. Got 2 million. We're trying to get 3. And of course, press the bell button to get notified so you can watch the video as soon as it comes out. Leave a comment and like the video. It helps with the algorithm. And of course, you can watch one of those 2 bloops. They're going to come up right now. And the training books, the cookbooks, coaching plans by me and my team, the Circle Diet book, and the Harder Than Last Time clothing line. Did you know I had a clothing line? So much going on. Hoodies, jogging pants, t-shirts, tank tops, you name it. Head over to the website. And until next time, I am out.